Welcome back. It's now 26 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is Morning Express. Today being a Friday, it's time for us to have our Friday chat. And let's start off, first of all, with introducing the panel that we have this morning. And today we're going to be talking about the Music Copyright Society of Kenya. By the way, even in the Pulse, we have a story there which is written, "What next after MCSK scam?" So that's exactly what we'd like to talk about, the scam that's been going on at MCSK and where that leaves us. Now, the panel that we have here this morning, I have to my immediate left, we have Edward Sigei, who is an executive director with Kobo, which is Kenya Copyright Board. We also have Rafton, who's the KEGSAV Secretary General. We have Timothy Boykwa, producer at Still Alive. We have an entertainment lawyer, one who's basically specialized in entertainment law, and that's Ken Kamau. Last but not least, we have Adhiambo Odera, who's, a pop culture specialist and was here for Hot Topics as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning. And of course, we're here to talk about Music Copyright Society of Kenya. And let me start with you, Edward Sigei, because according to this article, apparently it says, and I'll read as it is written, since it was announced that the Music Copyright Society of Kenya's operation has been put on hold by Kobo. Tell us, what's going on at MCSK?
Let me start from the legal side. That means that what is the mandate of the Kenya Copyright Board with regards to collecting societies? Kenya Copyright Board has been the entity that had given Kenya Music Copyright Society of Kenya the license it has been operating on since the year 2007. But over the years, a number of attempts to reform the management of MCSK have proven futile. If I may go to the last review that resulted in the decision that was taken, we found that Music Copyright Society accounts were not in order. That means that the payments to members were close to nil. Or really, they could not be supported.
And this is despite collecting millions.
Yes, I think from a review of those accounts, we found that MCSK turnover, if you could call that, was 409 million,
wow,
of which they ostensibly paid only 47 million. So with the rest of the money going into admin costs, that means to my board, it made the society unsustainable. It was unsustainable before, when it was paying about 35%. But when they start paying 13%, really, and the board, when they came before the relevant committee within my board, they were not convincing in as far as ways and means of making up or really solving the problem going forward. So in essence, we had to pull the trigger and give it to a new entity. That means as we speak, MCSK has no legal status to collect money from the public, and they should not be paid, and we have taken steps to ensure that they stop forfeiting.
Is that a temporary order, or is that just as this goes through the legal system, and maybe they may come back to be the official collectors, if I can call them that?
The new entity now has a license for 1 year. That means there will be the entity that will be examining the performance of the next come February next year.
Okay.
Should they not perform very well, MCSK would have an opportunity, if they have put their houses in order, to come back. But as it is, as a collecting society now, I think that that stage is over.
All right, Rafton, you're an artist apart from being the SecGen for KEGSAV. Yes. You're an artist as well. Maybe just your experience of MCSK, because here we are, if you're running a matatu, anything that plays music in public,
yes,
you have to have a license, yes, which MCSK was basically collecting money on behalf of the artist. Yes. Your experience with MCSK so far?
Thank you for the opportunity, Mike, and I'm just realizing I'm the only artist in the panel, so I'll speak
although the producer could also be looked at as an artist.
Yeah, he's an artist. Yeah,
but
I'm talking about the G-Clef. So as an artist, my experience with MCSK started when I was still doing secular music. That was way back in 1998. And to be sincere, by then we had musicians like Poxy Pressure, we had musicians like Jackie Marley, just to mention but a few. And to be honest, it was disastrous. And till even this time round, it's just been disastrous. Why am I saying that? Is because there's just lots of excuses. And then you've had Mr. Sige saying that Kobo advises that after collecting the revenue, at least 30% should be used on running their offices, and 70 should be distributed to the artists. But you see, the narrative keeps on changing and worsening. They've been distributing 30%, as he's put it, and using 70 on the running cost. How much is 70% of roughly 500 million? That's a lot of money. And then as years went by, now they've even deteriorated to 13%, meaning next year probably they'll be at 4%. So for me, I say this move, it was long overdue. As an artist who's been in the system for 20 years now, and I think I'm a mouthpiece to so many artists from mashinani.
So for you, it's good riddance?
For me, I say anybody who has the heartbeat of an artist, whether it's MCSK or it's the city mortuary, me, I would side with them. You understand? Me, I would side with them. But anyone who's against the artist, whether it is city mortuary or the Pope, I'll be against it.
You'll be against them.
You understand? So it's as simple as that.
All right, I'll come to you, Timothy, in just a bit in regards, especially as a producer, what damage that does to the artist and to the industry generally. But let me first of all talk to Ken, who is a lawyer. And Ken, how did we get here? I would imagine that before an artist signs up, there should be an agreement. There should be a system that shows. Although I remember I was talking to Bahati not too long ago, and he was saying that for him, he was given a paper and he signed. And after that, he did not even know where that money was going to come from, and that was it. The next thing he's asking Safaricom. So you even wonder how the two come together. But anyway, from a legal perspective, Ken, how did we get here?
Allow me first to reintroduce myself.
Okay.
I'm an advocate of the High Court, practicing amongst other areas of law, intellectual property law. At the same time, I happen to be a registered music publisher with the MCSK.
Okay.
So I wanted to establish that locus. So then, as I address the issues that I will be addressing,
We see where you're coming from.
You see where I'm coming from. Allow me first to make an admission that the troubles bedeviling the music industry are way bigger than MCSK. Okay? And I say that because I look at the music industry at worst as a sham and at best a serious betrayal to the artists who wake up every morning to earn a living off music. Now, it's common knowledge, like Mr. Sige has admitted, that millions of shillings, running into hundreds of millions of shillings, are being collected annually. And artists are receiving just peanuts from those figures.
When they receive
As and when they receive them, if, okay? I've spoken to quite a number of artists in my line of duty as an advocate and as a music publisher, and enough of them tend to think that the issues surrounding the music industry revolve around a lack of proper management, revolve around legal issues, but that is far from the truth. The truth of the matter is that from every key player who's involved in the music industry, starting with the regulator, Kobo, to the CMOs, to what they call CSPs, to the Communications Authority of Kenya, has played a huge part in creating the turmoil that you find in the music industry today. And I'll give you an example by reading Section 46, subsection 5 of the Kenya Copyright Act, and it states that the board shall not approve another collecting society in respect of the same class of rights, mark my words, same class of rights, and category of works, if there exists another collecting society. Now, Mr. Sige will tell you that as we speak, before even the deregistration of MCSK, there was CAMP, which is the Kenya Association of Music Producers, registered as a CMO. There is also PRISC, which is equally registered as a CMO, okay? Now, all these entities are levying charges. In your mind, it may be lost to you that only MCSK collects. But the truth of the matter is, If you go to the website of CAMP, for instance, this is how they introduce themselves. That the Kenya Association of Music Producers is a company limited by guarantee to carry out the functions of a collective management organization in the Republic of Kenya. Kenya Association of Music Producers is registered and licensed by the Kenya Copyright Board, Kobo, as a CMO, representative of producers of sound recordings, and granted a license to carry on with its mandate in line with Section 46. The same section that I read initially. If you go to the website of PRISC, they also identify themselves as CMOs. So over the same piece of music, you have over 3 entities collecting royalties on behalf of stakeholders within the line of production of a musical work. Now, what that means is that you have 3 KRAs collecting income, okay?
From the same,
from the same
salary.
Okay?
Yeah.
From the same salary. Now, that is where the problem begins, okay? And the reason why all this trouble is arising, go to the Communications Authority of Kenya today. MCSK has authority to collect royalties then, before the deregistration. But CAK, Communications Authority of Kenya, in their wisdom, register some funny brokers, and I will call them so because
the premium rate service providers.
What they are calling CSPs, okay? So those ones come and collect music from Rafton, avail it to Skiza, collect royalties, what they call Skiza, and then, like MCSK, there is absolutely no transparency in what Rafton is supposed to receive from his artwork. Now, what happens, for instance, at Still Alive, I would tell you, is that whenever a musician walks into Still Alive to record a musical work, there is always a spreadsheet that is filled. So you have to make a disclosure. Are you the author of the lyrics? Are you the composer? Are you the producer? And then that spreadsheet is what is availed together with a copy of the musical work to the MCSK. So that even from the MCSK's point of view, they already know that this work submitted by Rafton does not entirely belong to Rafton, because Rafton cannot be the arranger, cannot be the producer, cannot
The writer,
be the writer,
the singer.
in all this,
Yes, yeah.
okay? So it becomes very easy for MCSK then to apportion the relevant percentages of income to the various
All right.
parties.
I'll come back to you, but let me hear from Timothy as a producer. And I guess Still Alive has already been, maybe it's a step ahead of many other production companies where you come in and you just do your song and leave and you're given your master and that's it. But it sounds like you have a system whereby you've divided the different categories. When it comes to a song that is being listened to, there are many people that play into that song. But just to hear from you, because we're coming from the background of MCSK, what does it mean when an artist cannot draw their rightful income from what they have collected? Because from what Mr. Sige has said, 30% is what goes to the artist. 70% is going into recurrent salaries and, whatever else they pay for.
Okay. The truth is, even Sige is saying 30%, we are not even sure.
If it's 30%,
Whether it's 30%.
could be less.
Yeah.
Would be the 4% I was talking about.
Because it's difficult to actually to know how much money, because like myself, I registered at MCSK 3 years ago as a composer. Then we have as a publisher company. But my main problem now, I ask myself always, is that, and I remember I went to Sige's office, we had a meeting, some musicians there. And the problem is that even now as we're talking, the people are representing artists. Guys who failed music like 20 years ago, still.
No, Tim, what do you exactly mean that these are guys who failed people? Because generally also
They are not active. Let me come to, I'm coming to MCSK now.
Okay.
These guys, since Morris was in the office last time, used to pay like ghost musicians. We find them making noise. They don't have a song. I'm here play, but receiving money from MCSK. The new MCSK office now, I think, Simius, other guys there.
I can see Ken, you want to weigh in on that.
In fact, let me tell you what it amounts to, because your question is very clear. In my opinion, the actions of Kobo in registering MCSK, in my opinion, amount to a deprivation of the right to life of the artists who earn their revenues from MCSK. And I'll explain why. Because they are artists who live off music. When you deprive them of the source of livelihood, it's tantamount to depriving them of their right to life. In my opinion, that even gives rise to a constitutional challenge as to their actions. And I'll tell you, the picture is bigger than just MCSK. And I will tell you, MCSK of itself is we should not appear to be looking at it as if it's run by angels. MCSK also knew that their license was due for renewal in January this year. Right now, we are getting into April. It's common. They have not even submitted copies of their financial audited accounts. It defeats logic that there is a board with the secretariat. They knew that this was coming. 3 months down the line, that has not been done. Your guess can only be as good as mine as to the reasons. However, as to whether that warrants the regulator to deregister them is a question that I would leave for debate, and I'll tell you why. The reason is because as we speak today, MCSK represents in excess of 15,000 members, if I'm not mistaken.
The ones we got is 10,000 members, actually. Yeah.
15, it's around
Okay.
15.
15 now, yeah.
About 15,000 members. By the time you're registering a new CMO, then you need to satisfy this country that CMO is a representative of the widest geographical representation of the artists. Now, the new entity, nobody is telling us who are the directors of this entity, okay? Where is the list of their membership?
They introduced themselves, by the way, the Music Publishers Association of Kenya just the other day. By the way, that is the new one, the Music Association of Kenya, Mpake. That is the one that now, of course, has replaced MCSK. But I think your concern is this, like all of us are asking. What happens, for example, to those 15,000 members and the membership monies that they had paid? For example, like the PSPs and the bars, what happens?
May I say something?
Okay, and I want Mr. Segei to also come in on that, but very briefly, let me hear from you, Rafton.
I don't know why I feel like I should support his argument, and I'm also supporting Kekobo's argument. But the challenge is we're arguing about a baby who can't speak on. Is it that musicians can't speak on their behalf? Because as for me, his points are very valid. MCSK has over 15,000 members, and it's been in operation. It has the experience and all that. But now inside there we have crocodiles and hyenas. So are we going to be forced to be in this container just because by law we are supposed to work with MCSK, and yet their ethics are wanting? And then secondly, maybe this is a challenge I will throw to Segei. Why are we having so many pipes plugged into a musician? In their hearts, in their kidneys, in their feet? You know,
They're not bringing life.
and they're not bringing life. Are you getting it? Let me just give it. We have camp. It has its separate office, its directors, and its employees.
But the question
Let
is...
me just finish. Let me finish. And then we also have... I know. KTN News today, you'll see why. But let me say that. And then there is the MCSK. Yes. It has offices all over the country. Yes. Then we also have Frisk.
Yes.
All these people are getting their own monthly salaries. They have an annual budget. And all this money they just get it from the artists. That's what I'm saying. Why can't we have...
And they're not giving the artists. Let me hear
why
from
can't
him.
we streamline
But
to one?
as we think about that, you are the artist. Why aren't you guys taking that up? Because
that's why I'm here. This is not an SMS. I'm here to... That's why I'm here.
Let me respond to the issues that have been raised here, and I think they are all valid. But we have to understand that what we are discussing for is royalty for public performance. And then, so my colleague there, Ken, talked about PRSPs. They are actually, in that case, you are out of context.
Yes.
You see, PRSPs is another platform,
Yes.
another performance, entirely different environment, and relationships exist there. Only CMOs happened to come in recently when they had an agreement with the Safaricom. And believe you me, that agreement brought a lot more benefit to artists.
Mr. Sige, so that we save on time, Rafton has brought in a pertinent
the
question
three.
here, and the question is, you have all, to use this example, all these pipes plugged into a musician, and none of them is bringing life.
Okay.
All it's doing is sucking life out of it.
Sure, and I'll respond this way. MCSK was ideally the sole entity, as registered in the year 1983.
Yes.
Over time, because of balance of power and the need to get directorships, the performers were removed from MCSK. The music producers were removed from MCSK. These people have rights that are affected by public performance. And in that case, and we cannot force MCSK to take them in. So in that case, I would not agree with my learned friend. Those people have their own rights. They have freedom of association. MCSK have freedom of association as well. And all these rights must be paid for, unfortunately. But then going forward, what we are trying to do now is to get these organizations to work together, reduce costs.
Is Kemp actually going to do better,
Solutions,
in your opinion?
solutions. I think
for,
that-
yeah, is Kemp going to do better than
we are out of
MCSK?
time.
No, not Kemp Mpake. Are they going to do better in
They are
because
under
you have
strict
decided on them?
conditions.
Yeah.
They are under strict conditions,
Which you can't
reviewable every
impose,
quarter.
which you can't impose on.
All right, that just means we are out of
it's
time.
true. Let me just add something
Solution,
small.
very, very briefly, like 2 seconds.
Okay, 2 seconds. I must say this. Even we seeing in the government, they have Huduma Bora. By that, what does that mean? You can get all services under one roof. So my advice to Mr. Sige is that will be implemented well and good. I must congratulate him for revoking MCSK's license because actually there were dinosaurs. But also to give His Excellency the President and the government of Kenya, because I believe this is the government after we made so much cry.
Of course, yeah, that's right.
And we must thank
All right,
His
thank you
Excellency.
very much. Unfortunately, time is against us. Edward Sige, who is an executive director at Kobo, Rafton, who is KEGSAV Secretary General, Timothy Boykwa, a producer at Still Alive, Ken Kamau, a lawyer, and Adia Modera, who's a pop culture specialist. That's where we'll have to wind up. Thank you so very much. Well, from Morning Express crew that makes sure this happens every single day, Monday to Friday. And, well, would like to wish you and thank you for keeping us company and for watching. For now, we'll have to say goodbye and give way for Worldview. I believe Sophia Wanuna is going to be hosting you on Worldview in just a bit. So do have yourselves a wonderful and a productive and a great weekend. God bless.